So now let's move on to question number 2. Using Excel, construct a frequency distribution table. Choose the minimum value as your first lower class limit. So here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use here we're going to start to create our frequency distribution table. So what we need is to create we need lower class limit and the upper class limit. Okay, so we need the different classes in order to do something. So let me write here the classes. Okay, classes, we need 10 classes, right? 1 2 3. Okay, now I know that here there is a sequence 1 2 and 3. I can use Excel to continue, like I select these three, and Excel automatically know that I want to write 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 all the way to 10. So I select these and then I come here until it forms like a cross like this, and I drag it down. So you can see 4 will appear, 5 6 7 8 9 and then 10. That's what I want 10 classes, so those numbers appears. Next, here the next one I want to write here lower class limit. That's where I'm going to write all my lower class limit. Okay, and then I will rearrange. Okay, now I'll format that. Now upper class limit will be here, upper class limit. All right, they're gonna be here. Okay, next, they say start the problem says using Excel blah blah. Using Excel construct frequency distribution, choose the minimum value as your first lower class limit. So going back here, the minimum value. So here my first lower class limit is supposed to be my minimum value, that value over here. So what I will do is I will write simply equals to, I want this cell to be equal to the value here. So I write equal and then I click on this one and I press enter. So that value that is here will appear over here. Now I know that in order to to find the next the next lower class limit is going to be equal to this the first lower class limit plus the class width. Okay, so this plus 150 will give me the value that is over here. Okay, so if you remember in class we had a certain example, like we had this data set with the ages, and we said that we'll use the minimum value as the first lower class limit. So we had like a skeleton of the frequency distribution table. So here, as you can see, insert the minimum value in your frequency distribution table. So here the minimum value is here, and then calculate the class width between two groups or classes, and we've calculated the class width, and we'll fill the table using this information. The distance between the two consecutive groups is the class width, which is equal to 2 here. So you'll do 17 plus 2 to find 19, 19 plus 2 to find 21, 21 plus 2 to find 3. So we take this value here, the first lower class limit, we add to the class width to find the next the following lower class limit, and that's what we did. We added to every time, like the class width is equal to 2, and then we added it to every other one here. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do also with our spreadsheet over here. I have 25,000, and what I'm going to do now is to add two, like I will add two. So this one is supposed to be my next lower class limit, right? And I know that this is equal to the class width, which is this is equal to 25,000 plus the class width of 115,000. So normally it's equal to the class width, which this one, no, the first lower class limit plus the value that is over here, and I press enter and I get that. The next one here is going to be equal to the previous one plus 150,000. This one is going to be equal to that one here plus 150,000. Enter. The next one is going to be equal to this one plus 150,000. Press enter. So I do the same thing for the other. So this one is equal to the previous one plus 150,000. But let me do it. This is like the long way. I can do it two ways. So let me finish this way. Equals to this plus that. Okay, no, that, etc. So I can do this one, but it's long. It's a long way of doing it. Let me clear the let me clear. All right, so I want to fill this one up, right? I press enter. This one plus that one over here, but what I'm going to do now is to lock this cell. Okay, I'm going to lock this cell, meaning that so I'm going to lock it down. So here I lock it here like this. I've used the dollar sign, so I lock the rows and the column, and I press enter. So now what's gonna happen, I'm going to drag this one down, and that formula which takes this value here plus that value in here will automatically be applied to the other cell. So if I drag it down, you'll see that the next one, this cell G4, this cell which is G5, okay, the name G5 is here, 5 is here, as you can see, and then G is here. So both meet at this cell called G5. G5 is equal to G4 plus D8. Okay, so if I lock the cell D8, the cell D8 will not move, will not change as I'm changing the formula. So look at, for instance, if I go previously, I have G3. Okay, so like let me remove the dollar sign. You'll see what's gonna happen. If I remove the dollar sign and I press enter, I have this, and if I drag it down, you'll see that the formula will be applied. This formula that is here, which is G3 plus D8, will be applied to every other cell. So look, I'm dragging it down. It will make an error. See what's gonna happen? It says G3 plus D8. So G4, this, which is this cell over here, plus D9. So it takes D9. D9 is here. So you see that D9 doesn't have anything. So this is why we lock. We don't want, and then let's continue. This is D9. Okay, let me continue. Let me drag it. I see D10. So G5. So here that is G6. That cell G6. This is G6 equals to G5, meaning this cell over here plus D10. D10 is over here. Okay, so normally like what I don't want the D8, like I want to take the previous, like every previous one plus D8. D8 is the value here, so I need to lock it. Like if I put dollar sign over here and here, the values will not change, it will stay the same. Okay, instead of having the change of instead of having D9, D10, D11, D12, D13, no, I just want my I just want whatever, like the changing plus D8 without D8 moving. So this is why I put the dollar sign, so that it will not change. Put my dollar sign, I press enter, and then I drag it down like this. Automatically it calculates everything for me, and I don't have to change anything. As you can see, like it changed, like G4 equals to G3 plus this cell. G5 is equal to G4, the previous cells, plus that one over here. This one is equal, G6 is equal to G5 plus plus this one. So you see it doesn't move, it doesn't change, like it stays blocked at D8. Okay, like the others on the left are changing, but D8 stays constant. This is what we call it locking it down. Okay, we are locking in the cell D8, so the formula is being applied to other cells without changing the cell that we don't want to move. Okay, so now, so we fill in this lower class limit, we're also gonna fill in the upper class limit. So here, to find the value here, like we need to think about what's the number that comes right before 175. So this is equal to 175 minus 1. Okay, enter, and I have that. So I'm gonna just like scroll it down. Oh, I forgot something. let me move it one more step like this. Okay, now for this one, what's gonna happen, I'm gonna drag it down also to find all of the upper class limits. So every time, what's gonna happen here, I have cell H3. This is H3 equals to G4, meaning the value that is over here minus 1. Now if I drag it down, what's gonna happen, the formula is gonna be applied here. I'm going to have this one here, the value that is here is gonna be equal to this one minus 1. Okay, so instead of writing this equals to this minus 1, enter, equals to the next one minus 1, enter. That is long, it's time consuming. So what I want to do is simply to, like, if I drag this one down, it will do the calculation for me automatically. So I'll drag it down, okay, and it does the calculation automatically. So that way I have my lower class limit and my upper class limit. Now I need to find the frequencies. So here in this column I write frequencies. So the reason why I kept these cells, like, I have normally it's 10 classes, right, but I've added one more value to find what's the value that is coming right before that one, so that I can have like the boundaries of my upper class limit. Okay, so it's like normally I'm supposed to stop at this, right, but I've extended it because the formula here depends on the value that is here, which is G13 minus 1, and that's what we get. So for instance, let me go back to the example that we had in class. So here I know that the value coming after 23 is 25. Okay, so if I do 25 minus 1, I get here 24. Okay, so I can write, so here normally we have 17, 19, 21, 23. The next one is 25. Okay, but to find the value that, so we need the value that comes right before 25, and that is 24. So we do 25 minus 1 to find it. Okay, or here we have 19. The value that comes right before 19 is 18. So you did 19 minus 1. Okay, so in order for me to create the value here in the Excel, I need the value here, which is 25. 25 minus 1 gives me this one. All right, so that's why I needed it. So going back here, okay, now I need the frequencies. So I need the frequencies. So to find the frequencies, I can use the count if function. Okay, so what I want is the values that are between that are greater than or equal to 25,000 but are less than 174,099. So for instance, if we go to the class notes, let me go, yeah, to the class notes. So for the frequencies, you want to count the values that are between 17 and 18, and you count 17 and 18 in the like 17 and 18 are counting, are included in the count. So that's what we want. So I want to write a function in Excel. So I'll tell that function count the values that are between 17 and 18. So in the same fashion, I want to count the values that are between 25,000 and 174,099. Okay, so I want the values that are greater than 25,000, okay, and less than this one. Okay, let me copy here. So I want, this is what I want values. So I want values that are less than 25,000 and less, and the great like they are greater than, sorry about that, that are greater than 25,000, and at the same time less than 4,099. That's what I want. Okay, so greater than 25,000, so greater than or equal to 25,000, greater, that is the sign over here, or equal to 25,000, and at the same time I want those numbers to be I want the number to be less than or equal to this 174,099. Okay, So like the greater here than 25,000, greater than or equal to 25,000, and less than 174,099. Okay, so going back to the spreadsheet, I'll write down that I'll use the function in Excel. So what I want to say to Excel, I'll use the count if function equal to count ifs. So here when you are counting, like normally there's a count if function, count if for example count if count I will do count, let me go straight to the point, count ifs the values in the data. So here's my data, I'm selecting all of the data, I press Control Shift and down arrow. Okay, so here when I'm talking about Control Shift down, so if you have like a cell, you want to select everything in that cell, you press Control Shift and then the down on your key on your keyboard. Okay, so that's what I did, and it automatically selected everything in here. I also want to lock, make sure that this one doesn't move. It doesn't move as I'm dragging it things. Okay, now the criteria that I would like for this formula is the fact that I want to, in this data, values that are greater than or equal to 25,000. Okay, so I'll write it down as follows: greater than or equal to. Okay, greater than or equal to. So I open here like here I open it and then I close. And then what I will say that greater than or equal to, and I press this, the and sign, and then this cell over here, the value that is here, G3. So I want the value of the data. So here count if it is great, the value of this data, okay, is greater than or equal to G3. G3 is 25,000. Now this is the first condition, is greater than or equal to 25,000, and at the same time we want the values in the data. So I lock it. Let me lock the values in the data set that are less than or equal to. So the values in the data set that is so I will use like, yeah, so here we have less than or equal to, and less than or equal to this one. Alright, G3. And then that's what I want. I want a value that is in our data set that is greater than or equal to that value here, G3. And at the same time I want another data in the value, I want like to count the values in the data that are less than or equal to this value over here, and then I close. It will count automatically for me, and it counted that there are two values between 25,000 and 174.99 in this entire data set. These two values are between these two, and the number of values between these two is 2. Now I remember I can drag it down. If I didn't look, if I did not lock this, as I was dragging it down, what would have happened was, like normally you have I3 over here. Now if I drag it down, I have I4, I5, I6, etc. So like when I drag it down, what's gonna happen is that the formula that is over here will be applied to every other cell in here. So I4 will be like everything here plus 1. So if I drag it down like this, here I have I3, and then I have A2, A301, greater, etc. So if I drag it down, those values increase by 1 every time as I'm dragging it down. So if I drag it down, you will see that this will change to I4, this will change to A3, here will be changed to 302, this here will be changed to G4, this one will also be changed, etc. So I don't want that. This is why I've locked those, so that these values will not change. Like the position of the data is not changing, but what is changing is the values in those, like the upper, low, and lower class limit. So let me drag it down. Okay, now I can see that the formula is being applied to every other cells. So here I have count in the data, the values that are greater than G4 is here. So greater than or equal to this value here, and at the same time that are less than H4 is the value here, and I have 13. So here you tell the Excel count if the values of the data, you want to count the values of the data that are greater than or equal to G5. G5 is the value here, and at the same time the values of the data that are less than or equal to H5, which is the value here. So automatically Excel counts everything for you. So let's see if this is equal to the total, because in total how many data values we have, count of the data values equals count, and then I count. So here that the count function count the number of values in the data set. So I press Control Shift down, enter, and I have 300. So there are in total 300 values. So let me see if my frequency normally the sum of all the frequencies of your frequency distribution should give you the total number of values in your data set. So here I will use the function. Remember, before you use the function, press equal, and then you press count, and then you come here. I press Control Shift and down. I've closed my parentheses, enter. I have, hold on, yeah, let me redo it. Count, yeah, count these values here. No, not count, sorry about that, it's the sum. I want, like, if you add all of the values of your frequency distribution table, you should get the total number of values. So let me change it. I will use the sum function instead, equal to sum of all of these values here, enter, 300. Okay, so in total there are 300 values. So in that way I've created my frequency distribution table. I can now like write it in a very clean form. So what I'm gonna do now is to basically copy those frequencies, copy, paste here. Oops, sorry about that. So if I want to undo something, I press Control and Z. Okay, Control Z to undo things. So like I was saying, to undo things you press Control Z. So in your keyboard you press Control and then Z. If you're using a Mac, it's Command and Z, and if you're using also a Mac, it's Command Shift down instead of Control Shift down. Alright, so going back to the exercise, so what I was doing was to actually try to, yes, copy those frequencies. So I select these frequencies here. I want to actually, what I want to do is just to write them in a nicer format. So I come here and I press paste special. So I press, so to select, I select these and I left click, copy, control copy, like I right click and I press copy, and it will copy these values here. Or what I can do, I can select this and I press Control Shift, like I press Control C, Control and C to copy, and then so Control and then C, I copy, and then to paste I press Control and V. So let me paste it here. I can paste, if I press Control V, it will paste. But what I want to do is a paste special. I want to paste the values without applying the formulas to those values. So values, okay, so this is what I get. Okay, now what I'm gonna put here is gonna be salaries, and then here I'm gonna write like down like the upper class limit and the lower class limit. So here's my table. I draw a table, like I select these columns, like I select these like this, and then what I'm going to do here is to select this one here, and I will cover all the borders. This is what I get. Let me put this one in bold letter case, bold. Okay, salaries, let me center those values here. So I select these and then I'll come here to center. All right. The next thing here, I'm going to write the frequency, not the frequencies, but the ranges, just like in here. Let me show you in our note, like these ranges like this. In this example, we have salaries in the top frequency here, and then like these different range. So I'm gonna do the same thing also. Here I'm gonna have from 25,000 to 174999. Okay, and I can press in here, like I come here because I want to expand this row, right? So I come here and I double click and it will expand like this. Now like the format as you can see here, you can see the format or the values in this cell. I want this format to be like a categorical type of data. I know that it's numerical, but so that it is more convenient in this particular case, I'm just gonna replace it. Instead of having numbers, if you have numbers here, I'll be able to do calculation. I'll go straight to text because this is a range. I don't want to do like calculation in those range, so it's a text. All right. The next one, 175,000 to 324.99. Okay, down and I expand. Next one is 325,000 and 474,999. Okay, and I expand. All right. So if we continue, we obtain this. Finally, we obtain this frequency distribution table. So let me put the title here: frequency distribution table. Frequency distribution table. I want it to actually be like, so what I'm going to do, I can see that this word that I've written, frequency distribution table, is only in L1. So what I want to do is to actually have it on the top of these two columns over here. So what I will do, I select these two cells and I will merge and center those cells. Okay, so it's like you take two cells and then you merge them together, merge and center. So it merges those two cells into one cell, and then I'm going to like actually use this formatting. I'll put a border. This is what I get. So this is my frequency distribution table. Let me try to center this one a little bit. Center, okay, and probably yeah, make it bold. Center also this value here. This is just a matter of formatting. Here I can change the color of the values inside. I can put them in red, and I can make them bold. All right, and that's it. So here, and I can put some coloring here. I can put this one in blue, yeah, and here like in blue, and here in blue. All right, so here's my frequency distribution table. Now what I will do, I know that some of you do not even know how to actually copy this one into a Word document. So you select this, for instance, you right click, you press copy, you go to your Word document. Here's your Word document, and you right click and you press paste, and that will paste the table. That's it. Alright, so in your answer sheet, when you are answering, so in your answer sheet, in your report, so to using Excel consult the frequency distribution table, you just copy and you paste it, and this is what you obtain. Alright, now the question number 3, let's move on now to question number 3.